let's just call me Daz. That's my name anyway, so there you go. So we have switched the branding of the YouTube channel to match our podcast that I'm doing with Jake. If you haven't checked it out already, I'll put a link in the comment section after this is posted, and go check it out. We're 2 episodes in, and I'm really proud of it. That's like where genuine effort is made. And this is where I film in my kitchen at 10 o'clock at night, and I don't bother doing any animations or anything like that. All the effort is into the podcast. So it's me and Jake, and basically we talk about we both bring up a topic. We fight to see which one wins, and then we talk about said topic for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes or so. It's a lot of fun. Please check it out. With that, let's get into it. I got a box from Zenmarket. But first, I had this made. I thought it was a cool design. And Jake, if you're watching, Merry Christmas, because I got you one as well. If you're into Jet Set Radio Future for the Xbox, which I thought was fitting, you probably know this, and you probably know those lyrics. It's one of the most annoying / memorable songs you're ever going to have in your head from a video game, but it's great. And Jake has a tendency of saying the concept of, and then I always cut him off with the concept of love. So it's becoming a running gag at this point. So hope you enjoy it, Jake. If you guys want one of these, I'm not making any money on it, but I can point you to who at least made it for me, and I'm sure they still have the file. So let me know in the comments below. Anyway, let's get into it. So in case you're not aware, Zenmarket is a proxy. So you can buy things from Yahoo auctions, Japanese Mercari, Rakuten, or whatever the fuck it's called. A whole bunch of online stores, Japanese, Amazon, whatever your poison is. And find video games out there, find video game consoles out there, find all sorts of memorabilia, even non-video game stuff, be it fashion-related things like my wife likes to shop for often over there. Everything is in superb condition. The Japanese tend to keep their stuff in much better condition than we do. The only issue being yellowed consoles of the past, primarily affected by heat. So, and if you know what to do, obviously there's ways around that, right? So, with retro brighting. So let's get into it. And I'm glad that I'm streaming from here. I have access to a knife, I suppose, because my wife did something with the scissors. So, thank you, Daz's wife. Yes, it's a dirty knife. I'm sorry. We're not putting on like an A+ production over here. I just don't want to cut myself. That's my goal. If I can not cut myself in today's stream, then it's a victory. So yeah, we're going to call this channel Site B. If you're a Jurassic Park fan, or you were before it became Jurassic World and sucked ass, then you know what that is. And is it a good name? It doesn't really matter. This is basically where I'm going to have stuff like this, stuff that is my own content without Jake, and everything else will be posted on the main Quarter Circle Jerk YouTube channel. So go check it out, like I said. Basically, the way it birthed is that Jake and I, or at least as often as we can, we'll talk to each other on the phone. And after, I don't know, countless phone calls, we basically realized, hey, we're basically doing a show. If you think about it, every single time we talk to each other on the phone. So let's just go ahead and start recording it. So it's basically just our phone calls recorded, because we're always talking about games and everything anyway, so. It's obviously a little bit more professional than that, yeah, but predominantly that's what it is. So first things first here. Look at that. Wow. I don't even think that this is the one that... It has to be the one that was shown. The one that they showed was really yellowed. And this is not. So maybe they had more than one, or maybe their camera was just really terrible. There is not a single scratch on this. I am actually super, super, super pleased. Look at that. Actually, hold up. This is horrifically unprofessional, but just 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. All right, we're back. We're back, we're back, we're back. Okay, so I actually got this in anticipation of this coming in. So you're probably asking yourself, well, what's the big deal? I see clear cases on AliExpress all the time. Well, there's a pretty big difference here. Namely, this is actually made by Sega. So in Japan, they sold these top half of console shells on their lonesome in a box, believe it or not. We never got such a thing here. They released these in what they call crystal, which is clear, and then crystal black, which is a clear black, but with the same colored gray power buttons and reset buttons, and the same stock Dreamcast logo. It's not black like the Sega Sports model in, in America. They never actually got a black system that wasn't like the R7 or something. They never got one with black buttons. So the reason why this is special, obviously, number one, it perfectly matches the plastic of the rare clear controller, which this is also in literal mint condition as well. So I am stoked. I thought I was gonna have to do retro brighting on this, but this doesn't need to be touched at all. This is great. But yeah, so not only does it match, but you have an official, Dreamcast sticker, which is obviously perfectly sized, perfectly centered, unlike the fake ones. You have the real gray buttons, which you wouldn't get on a fake one because they just make them out of the same clear plastic that the shell is on. You have a real jewel up here, which on the Japanese one, it's like a translucent silver sort of thing, whereas here in the United States, we just got a flat light gray that matched the buttons on the power and the reset. And then more importantly, in Japan, you actually, with the Japanese Sega top half of the shell, you actually got a silk-screened Windows and Sega logo on the front because it's official. So I will be installing this on my current Dreamcast. I'm super, super, super excited. I was going to get a matching clear VMU, and I was very close to getting one, and then I decided to get one of those 4X memory cards instead. So yeah. Unfortunately, they only made the 4X memory cards in a couple colors, neither of which are going to be any better suited for a clear system. You're talking about, you have the white one, the standard one. You have a Sonic Team. Phantasy Star Online themed one that's like a dark navy blue. And I believe they made one for Sakura Wars. So there you go. Okay, we seem to have a giant collection of wad of games here in one big pack. The top one you can see, obviously, so that's not much of a surprise. But what is underneath? Only time will tell. So yeah, I know I haven't been posting very much lately, but primarily that's because, again, we've been doing the Quarter Circle Jerk show. And I've really been putting my heart and soul into that, doing my own animations. We actually have proper mic support there instead of me just filming off my freaking phone. So anyways, as you saw, first one is option 2 for the import PlayStation. So this basically has the, sorry about the glare. This is basically the graphics of Gran Turismo 1, but it has the driving of like a toge game. So you have drifting and, that sort of car culture going on. So it's professional racing, but it's with Japanese imports, which is awesome. There's 3 of these, by the way. And the second one, which is basically a slightly better version of the first one, for whatever reason goes for quite a bit of money, like 40, 50, 60 bucks, depending on who you're buying it from. Whereas the sequel, which you could argue would be better, goes for like $5 or $6. So go figure. This goes to show you that sometimes when things are more rare, it doesn't necessarily make them better. So the next, let me just go ahead and go through these really quick. Yeah. All right. So the rest are PC Engine, which is exciting stuff. So this is one of my all-time favorite shooters. It's getting rare-ish now. I wouldn't say rare like, $100 or anything crazy, but it's getting up there from the worthless status it used to be. But Galaga 88, or as it's called here in the States, Galaga 90, is a really, really good shooter. It's Galaga, but slightly more refined is the best way to put it. You have actual moving levels and screens that will scroll upward. You have boss battles. It's just a more refined shooter. So definitely check it out. It is a great game. Let's see here. We need to take off the sticker on this so we can see. Yeah, guess that's not going to happen. We have Baranba. Baranba is a little-known shooter, and it's a lot of fun. It's really pretty cheap to get still for whatever reason, which is great. And basically, it's a very slow-paced shooter where you're kind of floating up, down, left, and right through a level. It's not a quick-based shooter, but basically the reason why this one stands out, the gimmick of this game, I should say, is that you can rotate. I believe you can only rotate one direction, but you rotate in a circle. So the idea is that you can shoot all around you, and the strategy comes with, well, if you can make it through the level while rotating around and at the same time not dying. So it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's not going to be like on anyone's top 10 for shooters, but it's competent and polished, and it's great. I am ill prepared for this. I can't remember what this game is called. You'll see it all over the place when it comes to import shops. It's a platformer, and it's basically based on Shinto monsters and, folklore and stuff like that. And you're basically this kid who's going through this spooky area, and all these monsters are there. It's very challenging, like to the point where getting through the first level might be challenging. I would liken this, as far as difficulty, to man, what is that game called? Man, I'm sorry, I am not I'm not prepared. What a night. Ghouls and Ghosts. Jesus Christ, I don't know why that was so hard to remember. It's very difficult, and it's very pattern based. So it's one of those games where it's easier if you know what's coming. So basically, through countless deaths, you'll get better. But it's a lot of fun. It's very polished, and it's pretty cheap. There are some people, and I don't know why, but there are some people trying to charge like $60 or something stupid for this. It's not worth that. Like, don't overpay. This is like anywhere between $5 and $12, depending on condition and completeness. So if you can't find it for that price, keep looking. Next up, we have Gunhead. Gunhead is, well, here in the United States, it's called Blazing Lasers. So one of the best shooters on the TG16 or PC Engine. I obviously think that the Japanese got the better name and graphics, so I picked this one up instead. Most, not all, but most of the TG16 games are pretty terrible looking, and have really embarrassing cover art. So pick this one up. It's a lot more affordable than it is in the States. Blazing Lasers has gotten nuts. It's like over $100 now, whereas Gunhead is really, really, really cheap. Well, if you know where to look, let's just put it that way. Some people are trying to scalp them and flip them for higher. But yeah, wonderful shooter. This was a very early game for the system, and despite that, it has, been able to keep up by comparison to all the other shooters. It's still probably a top 10 shooter for me on the PC Engine. It's fantastic. The power-ups feel good. Everything feels really good. The music is astounding. Definitely recommend it. Last in this little pack here, we have Dragon Spirit. So Dragon Spirit is another shooter. There's another game in this series for the PC Engine called Dragon Saber, I believe. And basically you're riding a two-headed dragon. That sounded sexual, but no, really. You're riding around on a dragon and you're basically shooting. It's a vertical shooter. It's pretty quaint, it's simple, but it's a lot of fun. You can shoot ground targets, you can shoot air targets, that sort of idea. And while it's very slow and there's not a lot of enemies on the screen, it's very difficult because your hitbox is pretty large and you're also not terribly fast. So it's one of those where you kind of do a better job if you know what's coming, number one, and number two, if you mainly focus on enemy fire and not the pretty backgrounds and enemies, which you could probably say on most shooters, but I digress. All right, so next we have a peripheral of some sort. Let's stab this open. So I did not know this when I began searching for one, but apparently these controllers are getting really hard to find, especially in this condition. Oh my God, this thing is like new. This still has a rough texture, as you can see. It has that matte texture. There's no glossing whatsoever on the grips. This is, for all intents and purposes, straight out of the box, it feels. Again, Japanese keep their stuff in really nice condition. There's still texture on the joysticks here. Still texture on the D-pad, as you can see. Really nice shape. Red's not my favorite color, but my PS1s came with some pretty terrible third-party controllers, and this feels like a million times nicer. So I'm very excited about that. That's great. But these are going for a lot of cash. Like, whether it's the white ones or the clear ones are obviously going for well more. But yeah, for whatever reason, PS1 controllers, not PSX controllers, not the gray ones, but the PS1 controllers are going for stupid money right now. It wasn't that long ago you used to be able to see them on a peg in your local gaming store for like $5 to $7. And that's changed, that's for sure. You're talking like 25 and up for something in really good shape. So I got this. This is original. So this is from 1993, it seems. It is a fan. Let me see if I can just rip this out of the bag really quick. So this was for the launch of Street Fighter II, specifically for the PC Engine as it's labeled with the NEC logos here. And this is actually really small. Like that's my hand. So it's like a little mini fan, which I did not realize when I was ordering. I have a fan from when I actually visited Japan as an exchange student for Space Channel 5. And so I figured this would be kind of nice to go along with it. This was nearly free, let's just put it that way. It's very, very affordable. But what a cool little collectible from Capcom. So there you go. Let's see what else we got. We got one last pile, it looks like. I don't think anything is in here, and nothing is in here, so yep, this is it. Put that there. So let's go one by one. So the first thing that we have is Rapid Racer for the PS1. I don't know if this was released in Europe or not, but it does not seem to have been released in the United States. This is the Japanese version, obviously. It's basically Hydro Thunder, but with the graphics of a later Jet Moto release, if that makes any sense. Like artistically, it looks like Jet Moto 2 or Jet Moto 3. It looks really good. It seems like people really like this game. So that'll be a fun game to give a go. So let's see. Before we get into some heavy hitters here, let's finish up the PlayStation games. So we have Overdriven 2. In case you don't recognize it, this is what they call Need for Speed in Japan. Need for Speed 2 is one of the best Need for Speed games. It's fantastic. If you ever play the PC version, Need for Speed 2 SE is phenomenal. Definitely recommend it. But you have like all the classics. You have McLaren, you have Ferrari, you have Lamborghini, you have the concept cars that they have in here, which are legendary in and of themselves. And it's a fantastic game. So that was a good pickup. Overdriven, just because of the fact that it's an American game, it seems to be a rather difficult line of games to collect for in Japan. So while I didn't pay a premium for this, it's difficult to actually find a proper listing. So, and last but not least, for PlayStation 1 at least, we have Bomberman Fantasy Race. I really like this game. I also am honest enough to know it's extremely flawed. It's not a Mario Kart as far as quality goes, but I just love Bomberman, and I love the graphics of this game. It's very polygonal looking, and music's nice. But basically, you're riding those little kangaroos from the later Super Bomberman games on the PC Engine and the Super Nintendo, and you're racing them. And you have power-ups just like Mario Kart, and it's a lot of fun. Very simple game, getting harder to find here in the States, and pretty affordable for the Japanese version. And obviously, you don't need to know Japanese in order to play that game. So moving on. Now we're getting into the last bit here. We have PC Engine CD, Super CD for Road Spirits. So Road Spirits is kind of like Outrun, I guess you would say, maybe. So it's that sort of looking game. But it's very easy. That's not the reason why I picked it up, but I've heard it's not exceedingly challenging. It seems to be more like relaxing than anything else. But it seems to be, it's the aesthetic that I really like. So in between each level, there's a girl who like basically talks to you about the trip so far, and I don't know. There's this very 90s aesthetic to the music and the people and the dialogue. I don't know. This looked really cool. And I think this was like less than $10. Definitely worth it. I love finding PC Engine games that I've never been able to play. And I figured, why not? Next up is another Super CD game. This is VG Advanced. This is a fighting game featuring all women. It's kind of like Street Fighter, I guess you would say. It's not as polished, but it's a good game in its own right. This is a series that continued on to other systems as well. Really great. And this is another one of those weird games, just like Gunhead, where it can be really cheap or really expensive depending on where you look. So next up, we have Zero Wing. I have wanted this for ages. So this is the game that has the infamous, well, not this specific version, but this is the one that has the infamous all your base are belong to us. It's a really good shooter. It's a tile plan shooter. And you can get this now in a variety of things like, Steam, but they're vastly different for the intro of the game, depending on which one you get, whether it's the Mega Drive or Genesis or PC Engine or whatever have you. So that being said, it's the basic game pretty much through and through past that point. So I've never actually gotten to play it. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I won this auction for like 900 yen. This game is worth a heck of a lot more than that. I really don't know why nobody bid me up. I had the same phenomena this morning on a game that I'll show you, I guess, when it comes in on the next package. And yeah, I don't understand why that happens, but I'm happy about it. And then this is last but not least, definitely not least, I was able to find a copy of Gate of Thunder. This is arguably many people's favorite horizontal shooter for the PC Engine. This is obviously a Super CD game. The music, the intro, everything is just, the pageantry is just turned up to 11. It's a phenomenal game, absolutely phenomenal game. And I have a fan redone version of this game in Lords of Thunder right now that I've been playing, where the background music has been boosted. That is the only thing about these two games, the two Thunder games for the PC Engine, is the background music seems a little muffled. So there are versions of the ISOs out there, or physical copies like I have, where they fix that. But that would be my only critique. Otherwise, it's a really, really, really good game. If you like R-Type, this might be something that you would want to pick up. This takes R-Type and basically amplifies it to the nines, from presentation to gameplay and graphics and music and everything else. So really good game. I'm looking forward to playing it. So that is it. Let's go ahead and show off what we got. I'll move the controller because that's not exactly fair, yeah. Everybody comes to my channel for the fantastic camera work I see. Joking aside, almost done. Thanks for joining me.